Here.
Mr. Morgan.
Here.
Chair Trivett.
Here.
Vice Chair Stevens.
Here.
Mr. Fuller.
Here.
Mr. Carnifax.
Here. All right, the first item on our agenda today is approval of the minutes from August 9th. Hopefully everybody's had a chance to take a look at that. Is there any changes, additions, or a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Ms. Hutton.
Aye.
Mr. Morgan.
Aye.
Chair Trivett.
Aye.
Vice Chair Stevens.
Aye.
Mr. Fuller.
Aye.
Mr. Carnifax.
Aye.
All right, any board member announcements? Nope,
No.
okay. Financial report, Ms. Dameron.
Yes, just a few comments. I think the last report that we had a meeting for was August, so I'm going to present based on changes since August. Our cash position has decreased $341,225. That's a result of receiving $67,809 in interest, an $80,356 regional contribution. We spent $16,300 in operating expenses and $473,100 in the sports complex. Be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Ms. Dameron? No. All right, thank you. Legal report.
Yes, sir. It's been very active. We've been working on the RFPs over the last couple of months, and those have gone out for the naming rights and also obviously for operations. And today we get to discuss some of that. And we'll be working on all kinds of interesting matters. So it's been busy.
Any questions for Sands Anderson? All right. Open forum. If there's anybody in the audience that'd like to come forward and address the board, now's a good time. Don't see anybody jumping up. I did want to take just a minute and introduce MVP. Jim, do you want to come up and talk to the board just for a minute?
Yes, Chair Trivett, members of the board. Jim Yatsik with MVP. We're a construction management consultant. Company is based out of Fairfax, Virginia, but I live here in town, have an office in Newtown. So our role in the project, we're going to be working as an owner's representative. So for our scope, we're going to be doing some periodic reviews of the design as it's being developed, just to make sure that it's being developed according to the earlier agreements that are in place. Once construction starts, we plan to have an inspector who's out on site. He's going to be verifying quality and also helping out with any cost or schedule type issues that will be taking place, but just mainly to serve as an advocate and eyes and ears for the HTRFA during the course of construction. I've worked a lot in the PPA delivery. I have very high opinion, good experience with it. Think it's going to bring a lot of efficiencies to the process. Getting the contractor MEB involved early, I think is a very good thing. So happy to be on board, and I really want to thank you all for the opportunity to work on this project for the community. So.
Any questions for MVP? Great, thanks, Jim. Thanks for being here. All right, that brings us to closed session.
All right, well, I'd make a motion to enter closed session, move the Board of Historic Triangle Recreational Facilities Authority convene in closed meeting pursuant to Section 2.2-3711A 29 of the Code of Virginia 1950 as amended for the purpose of discussing a public contract involving the expenditure of public funds, including interviews of bidders or offerers, and the discussion of the terms or scope of such contract, where discussion in open session would adversely affect the bargaining position or negotiating strategy of the public body in responses to our RFP on operations, and to Section 2.2-3711A 6 of the Code of Virginia 1950 as amended for the purpose of discussion or consideration of the investment of public funds where competition or bargaining is involved, where, if made public initially, the financial interest of the authority would be adversely affected, design update and consideration of facilities and comprehensive agreement update, funding agreement among localities.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Hutton.
Aye.
Mr. Morgan.
Aye.
Chair Trivett.
Aye.
Vice Chair Stevens.
Aye.
Mr. Fuller.
Aye.
Mr. Carnifax.
Aye.
All right, we will adjourn to the closed session room.
Trivett,
Aye.
Vice Chair Stevens,
Aye.
Mr. Fuller,
Aye.
Mr. Carnifex.
Aye.
And, Mr. Chair, I make a motion to certify, hereby move that each member certify that to the best of their knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from the open meetings requirement by Virginia law were discussed in the closed meeting, and only such public business matters as were identified in the motion convened in the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered by the board.
Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Hutton. Aye. Mr. Morgan.
Aye.
Chair Trivett,
Aye.
Vice Chair Stevens.
Aye.
Mr. Fuller,
Aye.
Mr. Carnifex.
Aye.
Okay, that brings us to our public hearings, which we don't have any, so we'll go to unfinished business. And we thought we'd just take a minute and do a public update from Victus on our outstanding RFI, RFP processes.
Good evening. So there are two RFP processes that are underway. One is for a potential sports facility operator. The RFP was issued in October, and we received 4 proposals from the same 4 firms that responded to the previous RFI. So it was in alphabetical order: Centers, ESM, Kemper, and SSC. Travis from purchasing has sent out a scoring sheet for that, so when you all have a chance to review the proposals and put together your scoring and send that back to Travis by November 21st. So keep that evaluation going forward. The second RFP is a RFP for potential naming rights to the Sports and Event Center. The RFP was issued on October 19th. They have a Q&A deadline coming up for anybody interested that wants to submit questions next week on the 16th. And then the proposals are due the first week of December, so on December 7th. So by December, we should have an idea of what type of interest is out there.
Great. Any questions for Brian?
If I could just ask Travis, the evaluation forms you sent us, are we supposed to print those, fill them out, and then scan them and email them back, or are they internet, do you fill them out online, or?
So they're not fillable.
Okay.
So if you could, there is one question on page 2.
Okay, so print it out.
If you don't mind,
Yep.
just lump them together, put the name of the company at the top that you're scoring.
Thank you.
He has hard copies too, if you
Well,
Great.
good.
Any other questions? All right, thank you, Brian. That brings us to everybody's favorite moment of the agenda, adjournment.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Ms. Hutton. Aye. Mr. Morgan.
Aye.
Chair Trivett,
Aye.
Chair Stevens,
Aye.
Mr. Fuller,
Aye.
Mr. Carnifex.
Aye.
Great.